Have you ever had someone tell you that you should stop using the word very in English? It might have even been a teacher, or you read it on social media somewhere, or they said something like, don't say the word big or a lot because these are such basic words. Well, I'm here today to tell you that that is just total. Welcome to English Coach 3Ts. I'm Tanya. And yes, there are many ways that you can say these words in another way, but it is 100% okay to say big, very, a lot. In fact, I was born and raised here in the United States, and I say these words all the time. I say them a lot. I have a real story for you today to show you some other ways that you can say big or a lot. You may have heard that we had a huge amount of snow here in Southern California. Huge is a really great way that I like to say very big, a huge amount. Yes, I live in Southern California, and yes, it snows in Southern California. And it is relatively common to snow here because I live in the mountains of Southern California. But this year, we got a humongous amount of snow. Humongous is one of my favorite ways to really stress that something is a lot or big. You can see from this picture on my back porch that we got a fair amount of snow. When we say we've gotten a fair amount of snow, it means about what we usually get, maybe a little bit more. But if I show you this other picture, you can see that this year we got tons of snow in just a couple of days. Now, even though it may not have been tons, like the weight, a ton, we will still say that in lots of different situations. And I'll give you other ways you can use this word besides talking about snow and rain, like I will today. And why you don't need to remember all of these words right now and what to do if you can't remember them. When it comes to snow or anything else, you'll hear people say, we got piles of snow, even if it wasn't in piles. For instance, you'll hear people say, we got piles of rain. And rain doesn't make piles, it makes puddles, like you can splash in. Psh, psh. Nonetheless, we still say, I have piles of something, or we got piles of something when we want to say it was a lot. One of my personally favorite ways to say a lot of something is plethora. I use this word because I just like the way it sounds, and so I still use it a lot. We definitely got a plethora of snow followed by a plethora of rain, more, way more than is usual here in Southern California. And so we had lots of water running down the sides of the street, which can be somewhat normal, but then we had these cute little waterfalls running down through the rocks and making that trickling sound that I love, that sounds like a babbling brook. If you've learned some new vocabulary here today, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss lessons coming soon. I said I was going to give you some tips on how to remember this and why you don't need to remember all of them. Well, the first and biggest reason you don't need to remember all of these words right now is that you already have words that work really well. We talked about it at the beginning. Very, big, a lot. You can use these words just like native speakers use them all of the time. If you want to increase your vocabulary and make your conversations have a little more variety, then you can start adding these words into your vocabulary. And because you don't really need them to get your point across, in other words, to say what you want to say, you can just add one at a time. So what I would suggest is go back, look at the words that are new to you, make a list, and then decide which one you want to start with. Then you're going to want to make an example. So let me help you with some more examples using some of these words. You're going to want to use the examples I gave earlier and these other examples. So we can use the word huge and humongous and several of these other words to talk about things that aren't substantial, like you can't touch them. For instance, I could say, he has a huge ego or a humongous ego. Earlier, I used the word gigantic. We could use this to mean a gigantic amount of something or a gigantic thing, like they live in a gigantic house or he drives a gigantic car. See if you can make an example similar to the ones I've made here so that you're sure to get the sentence structure correct, and write them down so that you can use them as you're adding these words bit by bit. Here's an example using one of the words I told you before and a bonus word. So again, you can use it for something you can't touch. So for example, they have a plethora of time after they finish their homework, so we can do it then. But the bonus word, which is really short and maybe easy to remember, is gobs. We could say, of course you can come by. I have gobs of time and I would love to see you. Now let me tell you a little bit about how some of these words are used differently grammatically. So when we're talking about a thing like a bonus, a car, not all the words work exactly the same. So I can say a huge car, a humongous car, a gigantic car, but not really a tremendous car if I'm talking about the size. If I say it's tremendous, I probably mean I like it a lot. It's really wonderful. And that's okay to say too. We usually don't say he has a pile of car or a plethora car. No, we want to say a pile of something, plethora of something. And usually it's not just one. It's like an amount of something, a plethora of time, a plethora of sand, piles of sand, piles of time, those kinds of things. Another word you could use that's not a thing is, for instance, a bonus. I gave you a bonus word a little bit ago. It wasn't a huge bonus. You can say huge in this case, but you wouldn't say it wasn't a plethora bonus. You could say a plethora of bonuses. If you watch several of the videos here on our channel, you will get a plethora of bonuses because I like to include them for the people who keep watching the video. And if you're ready to learn more vocabulary in context, give this video a try. Or if you want to try something a little different and see what it's like when I go live, give this one a try. I'll see you there.